Welcome to my first ever review video. This lovely blue mat is going to be my review mat for the time being. So whenever you see this, you will know that it's review time. In this video, we will take a quick look at Special Hobby's Reggiana 2000GA Series 3. Ever since I started playing War Thunder, I got into the Italian Tetri, I fell in love with the planes, and I think they don't get enough love from the scale modeling industry. Which is funny, as there is a big Italian brand and one would think they would go out of their way to flood the market with their heritage planes and armor. But sadly it's not the case, and even the ones they make, they can be somewhat mediocre. Also, they love reboxing their old stuff as well. This plane here is going to be very special to me, as this is going to be my first kit in 1/48 scale and from Special Hobby. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about the history of the plane or how mediocre and out of date it was when it was put into service. There are enough resources on the internet which cover this extensively. For me, this is only about the looks, and frankly, this plane looks absolutely fantastic. So without any further ado, let's see what's in the box. Let's start with the instruction booklet. Here we have the part list, and only two of them aren't used here. Those ones are for the previous versions of this plane. Next up is the cockpit with a lot of color callouts and a very detailed step-by-step guide. After that we have fuselage, landing gear, engine and bottom wing section. Here we have the wing and fuselage assembly and the cowling made out of 3 parts and the engine. Then we have the bottom part of the wing, where this middle section can be a bit tricky because there are no guide pins. And of course, no support for closed landing gears as usual. On the last page we have the 2-part canopy and the antenna wire, which is quite nice to have in the instructions and even providing measurement for an accurate thickness. And you have the propeller made out of 7 parts. And finally we have arrived at the paint schemes. I quite like the very first one with the red cowling and the intricate camo with 4 colors. I think this is going to be my favorite of them all. The second one is quite tempting with its clean dark green color and the small amount of white breaking the monotony. The last two are basically the same with 2 different types of cowling color. Now we are going to take a closer look at all the sprues and see what we're dealing with. Right off the bat, I quite fancy the deep panel lines. I know it's not authentic, but I think besides rivet detail, panel lines are the only part which can give more depth to an airplane model. One thing I noticed on the wings, that there aren't any guide pins and holes, so we need to be careful during assembly. This seems to be an overall theme with this kit, so dry fitting and holding parts in place with clamps and tape is a must. The bottom wing section is one big part with these small protrusions on it. I don't really know what their name or purpose is, but I quite like these extra detail. Let me know in the comments if you know what these meant to be. And here is one of the fuselage halves. As you can see, it's fused together with the rudder, but that shouldn't be a problem. There are some nice little fine details here and there, and you also have the same panel lines as on the wings, and there is some rivet detail on the wing roots. Up next you can see one of the elevators with clean lines and nice stressed canvas effect on them. The front of the cowling is good, but the gun ports will need some drilling. It would have been nice to have the top intake as a separate part to have better inside detail of it. The sides of the cowling are nice, but it's a shame that the cowl flaps are fused together and no option to have them open. The next sprue is small with some parts for the engine, propeller, cockpit and landing gear bay. I'm pretty sure that these knobs on the inside of the gear bay need to be removed. Again, the detail is really good on this kit, and luckily there is only just a small amount of flash here and there. And here you can see the piece which I mentioned when we looked at the instructions. It has no guides for a perfect fit, so we have to take great care that it's in proper position when gluing. And here we have the next sprue with quite a lot of things attached to it. From the propeller baits, landing gear parts, wheels, engine parts, and a lot of the cockpit detail. Just look at all these gorgeous wheels. And all these dials, buttons, knobs, cranks and thingamabobs the pilot has to use. Even this small headrest has the nice cushiony feel to it. The engine part looks good, but there is some flash on the sides which needs to be sanded off. Here we have the landing bay covers. I do hope it will be a simple conversion to make them closed. Turning the sprue around, we can finally see the cockpit frame and some more detail in it. Starting to feel bad making it in flight with closed canopy. Sorry that I'm not commenting on every tiny detail on the sprue, but there are so many things to talk about and I will just repeat myself. Everything looks really good. And of course the video should be much better to showcase how good the kit is rather than me talking endlessly about it. And here is the seat which fell off the sprue. Luckily it broke at the sprue gate. It is made nice and thin, not as bulky as sometimes these can be. And now let's have a look at the decals. Whilst I'm unpacking it, I realized I forgot to record the clear parts. There is really nothing extra about them. They are well made, packaged separately and have minimal distortion. Same quality as the rest of the kit. As you can see, the decals are nice and crisp. I think there might have been a bit more stencils on the actual plane itself, but these should be enough. The paint scheme will be the highlight anyway. The carrier film looks to be nice and thin. Its quality seems to be close to cartograph decals. They are a bit shiny, but I think with a flat or semi-gloss top coat in the end, you will get rid of that. These white crosses for the tail, I think they are easy enough to mask and paint them on rather using these decals, and the results are going to be much better. So what's the verdict? I think it's a decent mid-range kit with good quality and detail. Wouldn't recommend it for beginners though, because the lack of fitting guides and such. And of course there are my personal problems I like to tout all the time. No pilot figure, no close landing gear, etc. But in this case I will give them a soft pass as they are a small company, but I hope that if they see this video they will feel the need to rectify this problem and be one of the forerunners of in-flight models. Wishful thinking, am I right? Anyway, it's always nice to see something else than the endless wave of Spitfires, the 109s, the Focke-Wulfs, the Zeros, the Mustangs. There are so many fantastic planes from the interwar and World War II period which aren't getting any love from the manufacturers, although Special Hobby does a really good job at filling this gap. So I'm off into the sunset and hopefully I will build this one soon and have more insight on it afterwards. So far I like what I see and I'm very eager to start it. In the meantime, please like and subscribe and all that jazz, and see you on the next one.